they say has no relevance, okay? And them some scheming, lying, manipulating people.
I'm cool with it. We never talk ever again in life, because I ain't got time for that.
You got a couple of widows in this crowd, so I want you to be on point.
Please don't get no book.
I think sometimes they be forgetting who they playing with.
You know, coming out here to Atlanta, I had my blinders on, but I was warned by my friend back in New York about Rasheeda and Kirk. They ain't right. I was warned.
Please subscribe to Star Gossip and never miss the hottest celebrity updates. Hit that subscribe button on Star Gossip for daily drama, scandals, and celebrity news.
Last night, Mendeecees Harris finally broke his silence. And when he spoke, every word landed like a thunderclap across Atlanta because for nearly a week the whispers, the accusations, the back-and-forth drama led by Rasheeda Kirk, and Jasmine Washington had been twisting the narrative, painting pictures of betrayal, conspiracy, and manipulation aimed squarely at Yandy Smith and Mendeecees Harris, dragging their names through the mud at every chance. But instead of sitting quiet like before, instead of letting the noise build, Mendeecees Harris finally stood tall, his voice steady, his tone calm but cutting, and he made it clear that this so-called triangle of scheming was not going to rewrite the truth about his life or his marriage, declaring boldly that people may try to break his happy marriage with Yandy Smith, but they have no idea who they are dealing with. And the moment those words left his mouth, fans erupted online. Hashtags flying across Twitter and Instagram, clips replaying in TikTok edits, and comment sections splitting into camps. Some praising Mendeecees Harris for handling the situation like a king, others calling out Rasheeda Frost for overstepping, and even more digging up old clips of Kirk-Frost scandals to show that when it comes to drama, the Frost household doesn't exactly have clean hands. The whole thing began with Rasheeda Frost marching up, fueled by anger and suspicion, accusing Yandy Smith of spreading nasty rumors about her family, claiming that Yandy Smith was talking behind her back, dragging Kirk-Frost and even Jasmine Washington into the mess, trying to paint the picture that Yandy Smith was deliberately sowing tension. And of course Kirk-Frost, always ready to double down, backed his wife up, with Jasmine Washington adding fuel to the fire, suggesting that Mendeecees Harris himself was pulling strings behind the scenes, working quietly to stir chaos for clout or revenge. But the second Mendeecees Harris opened his mouth, that whole storyline cracked because he didn't yell, he didn't scream, he didn't throw insults, he simply explained, with the patience of a man tired of carrying other people's projections, that he hadn't even been talking to Yandy Smith in the way they claimed, that his only connection to her during that time had been a business matter, a clean deal with no hidden agendas, no collusion, no secret schemes. And his calm but direct tone left the room unsettled, because when someone defends themselves without theatrics, without drama, the accusations lose oxygen, and suddenly the story looks weaker. And that's exactly what happened as fans watching online praised Mendeecees Harris for showing maturity and composure, saying this is what should have been done from the start, instead of letting the circus spiral. And at the same time, they dragged Rasheeda Frost, Kirk-Frost, and Jasmine Washington for doing the most, for trying to paint innocent people as villains in a narrative that felt more like projection than truth. But of course, Rasheeda Frost wasn't going to sit silent. She fired back with fire in her eyes and sharpness in her tone, saying she knows exactly who she's dealing with and she won't ever stay quiet while her husband is disrespected. And while she spit those words, fans started speculating if Rasheeda Frost has receipts or secrets she hasn't dropped yet, because the way she emphasized her knowledge left the door wide open for theories. At the same time, Yandy Smith added another layer when she admitted that a friend back in New York once warned her about Rasheeda Frost and Kirk-Frost, warned her they didn't have the best intentions, but at the time she ignored it, brushed it off, thinking it wasn't serious. And now caught in the eye of the storm, she confessed maybe she should have listened. And that honesty made Yandy Smith look human, reflective, and relatable. Not just another cast member caught in chaos, but a woman acknowledging that choices matter, that ignoring red flags comes with consequences. And so the stage is set with Mendeecees Harris standing calm but unyielding, Yandy Smith trying to balance reflection with resilience, and Rasheeda Frost and Kirk-Frost doubling down with Jasmine Washington egging them on, creating a clash that feels less like reality TV and more like a cultural war, with loyalty, pride, and family image on the line, while the viewers, the bloggers, and the gossip pages feast on every word, every clip, every rumor, waiting for the next explosion. Because if this is how the silence was broken, what comes next could burn the whole set down, But if anyone thought that the storm would calm after Mendeecees Harris broke his silence, they were wrong, because the energy only intensified and the room grew hotter when Rasheeda Frost doubled down, fire blazing in her voice as she declared she wasn't the type of woman who could ever be bullied into silence. And when she spoke, you could hear the pain and the pride colliding, making it clear she saw this not just as an attack on her marriage but as a test of her reputation. A reputation she built in Atlanta brick by brick, season after season, standing beside Kirk Frost through public humiliation, through cheating scandals, through secret children. And now she was being painted as if she were the villain, and that made her even more defiant. Her words carried weight because they were dipped in history. And she knew the cameras were rolling, the fans were watching, and every syllable could decide whether people saw her as the betrayed wife or the aggressor stirring up mess, so she leaned all the way into her power, warning Mendeecees Harris and Yandy Smith that if they thought she was going to sit back while her name was smeared, they had another thing coming. Online, the reaction was instant. Fan pages clipped her speech and ran it across Instagram with captions like Rasheeda Frost snaps back at Mendeecees Harris, while Twitter was split. Some siding with her fire and some accusing her of deflecting from her own household issues. At the same time, Yandy Smith sat steady, her composure a sharp contrast to the heat coming from Rasheeda Frost. But when she admitted again that maybe ignoring the warning signs from her New York friend had been a mistake, fans began to empathize because instead of screaming, she showed self-awareness, and in reality TV, that vulnerability is rare. Meanwhile, Kirk Frost chimed in like he always does, his presence less about clarity and more about defense, backing up his wife's narrative, insisting that Mendeecees Harris was not being transparent, that there was more under the surface. And his words sounded like rehearsed lines for damage control. Because let's not forget, fans never forgot his history. And every time Kirk Frost opens his mouth, the ghosts of his scandals rise again. Whether it's Jasmine Washington and the paternity storyline or the endless whispers of dishonesty. So when he tried to spin this, social media dragged him, filling comment sections with reminders of "you got nerve, Kirk," and "not you speaking on loyalty." And then came Jasmine Washington, always a spark in the fire, who leaned into the drama, throwing shade at Yandy Smith and suggesting that Mendeecees Harris had been plotting from the sidelines. But her words only fueled more division because half the fans don't trust her motives, remembering how her storyline with Kirk Frost almost destroyed Rasheeda Frost's marriage. And the other half saw her as a truth teller who exposes what others try to hide. All of this blended into one explosive cocktail. And suddenly what started as an accusation of rumors turned into a war about credibility, history, loyalty, and survival. What made it even more gripping was how different the energies clashed. Mendeecees Harris standing calm, calculated, reminding everyone that composure is its own weapon. Yandy Smith reflecting, admitting her missteps but holding her ground with quiet strength. Rasheeda Frost fiery, passionate, refusing to let her image crack even as she shook with emotion. Kirk Frost defensive, clinging to whatever authority he thought he still had in the conversation. And Jasmine Washington messy, provocative, playing her part as instigator with a smirk that told the world she enjoyed the chaos. Bloggers jumped on it immediately, with headlines like **Mendeecees Harris vs. Rasheeda Frost, loyalty on trial, and Yandy Smith breaks down while Kirk Frost deflects again. And YouTube lives ran for hours, with fans debating who came out on top. Some said Rasheeda Frost is right to defend her marriage with fire, because she's tired of being the woman dragged through scandals. Others said Yandy Smith and Mendeecees Harris showed the real strength by not lowering themselves to the same theatrics. And a smaller but louder crowd said Jasmine Washington will always be the chaos agent, who turns any moment into a bigger mess than it needs to be. But the part that no one could ignore was how Mendeecees Harris ended his stance calm, but with a warning that people might be forgetting who they are dealing with, reminding Atlanta and beyond that he is not the type to be underestimated. And that line stuck in fans' minds, replayed in clip after clip, because it sounded less like a statement and more like a promise that this feud was just beginning. In the aftermath, social media polls lit up. Hashtags like #TeamYandy, #TeamRasheeda, #Mendeecees Speaks, and #Kirk Caught Again trending overnight, proving that this wasn't just another argument for the cameras but a storyline that cut into real-life questions of loyalty, trust, and how much mess a marriage can survive in the spotlight. And as the dust settled for the night, the divide only grew sharper, Rasheeda Frost and Kirk Frost standing firm with Jasmine Washington at their side, fiery and unapologetic, while Mendeecees Harris and Yandy Smith stood steady, reflective and resilient, both camps refusing to bend, both camps convinced they were right. And the fans left glued to their screens wondering not just who won this round, but what secrets, what revelations, and what bombs might drop next. Because in Atlanta drama never ends, it only escalates. And this feud has now turned into a full-scale battle for respect, reputation, and survival in the public eye.